hereinafter referred to as accused 1 and 2. For the state appears Advocate Caesar, and on behalf of accused 1 appears Advocate Al Hodes, as instructed by Ian Levitt attorneys, and the position remained unchanged during the proceedings to date. On behalf of accused 2 appears Advocate S. Matthews, as instructed by Carlet's, Crocard and Associates Incorporated. The position had remained unchanged for the duration of these proceedings. In respect of count 1, it is with regards to accused 1 only. The statutory count 1 reads as the statutory unlawful possession of a firearm in contravention of section 3, read with sections 1, 103, 117 and 120 in brackets A, 1A, and read with section 121 of Schedule 4, section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, and further read with the sections 156 and 250 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977. Count 2 is also in respect of accused 1 only, the statutory unlawful possession of ammunition in contravention of section 90, read with sections 1, 103, 117, 120, sub 1, sub A, and 121, read with Schedule 4 and Section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000. In that, upon or about the 28th of July 2018, and at or near Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mtansane, let me just start. I need to read the contents of count 1. My apologies. Count 1 refers to the following: in that upon or about the 28th of July 2018, and at or near Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mtansane in the Regional Division of the Eastern Cape, the accused unlawfully had in his possession the following firearm: to wit, a .223 Norinco rifle and or firearm, the make of the firearm unknown to the state, without holding a license or permit or authorization issued in terms of the Act to possess the said firearm. Count 2, the charge has been read out on record. I will now continue with what is alleged. In that upon or about the 28th of July 2018, and at or near Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mtansane, in the Regional Division of the Eastern Cape, the accused did unlawfully have in his possession the following ammunition: to wit, 1 times .223 Remington bullet, without being the holder thereof, without being the holder of the license in respect of a firearm, capable of discharging that ammunition, or a permit to possess ammunition, a dealer's license, manufacturer's license, gunsmith license, import, export, or in transit permit in terms of this Act. Count 3, also in respect of accused 1 only, that the accused is guilty of the offense of contravening the provisions of section 120, subsection 7, read with sections 1, 103, 120 in brackets 1, bracket A, section 121, read with Schedule 4, and section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, and further read with section 156 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977, being the discharge of a firearm in a built-up area or any public space. In that upon or about 28th of July, and at or near Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mtansane in the Regional Division of the Eastern Cape, the accused did unlawfully discharge a firearm, to wit, a .223 Norinco rifle, and or a firearm, the make of the firearm unknown to the state, in a built-up area or any public place, to wit, the Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mtansane, without good reason to do so. Count 4 is in respect of accused 1 and 2, in that the accused persons are guilty of the offence of contravening the provisions of Section 120, subsection 3, read with sections 1, 103, 120, 1A, and section 121, read with Schedule 4, and section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, and further read with section 156 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977, meaning failure to take reasonable precautions to avoid danger to person or property. In that upon or about the 28th of July, and at or near Sisa Dukashe Stadium, Mtansane, within the Regional Division of the Eastern Cape, the accused had control of a loaded firearm, to wit, a .223 Norinco rifle, and or a firearm, the make of the firearm unknown to the state, in circumstances where it created a risk to the safety or property of the general public attending the 5th Economic Freedom Fighters celebration, and unlawfully failed to take reasonable precautions to avoid the danger. Count 5 is in respect of accused 1 only, that the accused is guilty of the offence of contravening Section 120, subsection 3B, read with sections 1, 103, 121A, and section 121, read with Schedule 4, and section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, and further read with the provisions of section 156 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977, being reckless endangerment to person or property, in that upon or about the 28th of July 2018, and at or near Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mtansane, the Regional Division of the Eastern Cape, the accused did unlawfully discharge or otherwise handle a firearm, to wit, a .223 Norinco rifle, and or a rifle, the make of the firearm unknown to the state, in a manner likely to injure or endanger the safety or property of the general public attending the 5th Economic Freedom Fighters celebration, or residents of Mtansane and the employees of Gear House, or with reckless disregard for the safety or property of the general public attending the 5th Economic Freedom Fighters celebration, being the residents of Mtansane and Gear House employees. Count 6 is in respect of accused 2 only, that the accused is guilty of the offence of contravening the provisions of section 120, subsection 10A, read with sections 1, 103, 120, 1A, section 121, read with Schedule 4, and section 151 of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000, further read with provisions of section 156 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977, therefore providing a firearm or ammunition to any person not allowed to possess the same, in that upon or about 28th day of July 2018, and at or near Sisa Dukashe Stadium in Mtansane in the Regional Division of the Eastern Cape, the accused did unlawfully supply or in any other manner give possession of a firearm or ammunition, to wit a .223 Norinco Remington bullet, to accused 1, who is not allowed in terms of this act to possess the firearm and or ammunition. Advocate Hodes confirmed appearance on behalf of accused 1, and accused 1 confirmed personally to court that he is indeed aware and understand all counts read out into the record, including the offences that had been explained to him by Advocate Hodes, and he is further aware of all relevant or applicable sentence as far as it pertains to the charges. After confirming appearance on behalf of accused 2, accused 2 had also personally to court confirmed that he is indeed aware and understand both counts read out on record, and that it was explained to him by Advocate Matthews. Also, that he was indeed aware and understand all penalty clauses applicable to the charges of this nature, as it was also explained by Advocate Matthews. Accused 1 entered a plea of not guilty to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Accused 2 entered a plea of not guilty with regards to counts 2 and 4. My apologies. Not guilty to counts 4 and 6. Advocate Hodes confirmed that the plea of not guilty entered by accused 1 with regards to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are in accordance with the instructions he had received from his client. Advocate Matthews thereafter confirmed that the plea of not guilty entered by accused 2 my apologies, in respect of counts 4 and 6 were also in accordance with the instructions he had received from his client. In terms of Section 115, subsection 1 of Act 51 of 1977, accused 1 elected not to disclose the basis of his defense and will do so during the course of the trial, and therefore in essence elected to remain silent at that stage. This was also confirmed by accused 1 personally to court. In terms of Section 115, subsection 1, Act 51 of 1977, Advocate Matthews informed the court that accused 2 will deny the allegations as per count 4 and 6, and further denies specifically that he handed in firearm or ammunition to accused 1. The plea explanation was confirmed as correct by accused number 2. It should be noted by this court that at this point, Advocate Matthews inquired whether the request for further particulars on behalf of accused 2 and the state's response was attached to the charge sheet. It was not, and on inquiring from the state, being Advocate Caesar, informed the court that he was not aware of any further particulars, as it is not contained in the case docket or file, but will ascertain this information and provide same to court. I think at this point it will be appropriate then to deal with the request for further particulars, which was submitted by Advocate Matthews at the end of his address before judgment. Therefore, the request is as follows. Advocate Matthews filed a request for further particulars on behalf of accused 2 on the 22nd of June 2020, and in that the request is based on the charge sheet as presented to accused 2 in respect of counts 4 and 6. The defense confirms that they have been supplied with statements A1 to A 120 and requested to provide a copy of the document marked A89. Insofar as count 4, the state was requested to inform Advocate Matthews on what the state is relying on to prove that accused 2 failed to take reasonable precautions to avoid danger to persons or property, including which circumstances the state is relying on to prove there was a risk to the general public, and also in what circumstances or stage of the incident is it alleged that accused 2 had control of a loaded firearm. Sorry. With regards to count 6, it was requested as to on what acts is the state relying on to prove that accused 2 gave or in any other manner supplied Mr. Julius Malema with a firearm, including a .223 bullet, and also to supply the defense with a statement by Colonel Mgwadleka setting out how he reached this conclusion, including photographic proof of such conclusion as envisaged in the court charts that they were provided with, and the state is also further requested to supply the defense with the results of the muzzle flash test. The above is a summary of the request for further particulars on behalf of accused 2. The state replied to the request on 31 August 2020, and that is confirmed that copies of images, reports, and statements were now supplied to the defense on behalf of accused 2. Further statements obtained after the docket was supplied to the defense is now provided, being A124 to A125. The retake of Mr. Malema'S fingerprints and SAP 69s marked A122 and A123. The results of the statements provided to the defense. Further, it was highlighted by the state that A21 was indeed a warning written statement obtained from Tolani Larry Mavundla and is marked as A121, which was obtained on the 5th of November 2019, indicated that he had elected to remain silent, and a copy of A21 will be provided to the defense at the next court appearance. The court was not informed that A21 was not provided to the defense and therefore proceeds on the premises that it has indeed been provided. The previous unmarked statement by Colonel Mgwadleka is also now supplied and marked in the docket as A133. A89 is an acknowledgement of receipt attached to the statement of Gerrit Nel, marked A85, and also supplied. Compact discs containing recordings and images were supplied to the defense, and that all evidence in possession of the state is now supplied to the defense. In response to count 1, the state replied, Tactical Security Service was the service provider contracted for armed guards, close protection, and the bodyguarding for Mr. Malema at the event, place and date already placed on record. Further, that Mr. Snyman introduced himself as the owner of the business to the police. Further, that accused 2 handed a rifle that belongs to Tactical Security Services to Mr. Malema, and that Mr. Malema used the rifle to fire shots in the air at a public gathering. Mr. Snyman was present at the time the rifle was fired and retrieved from Mr. Malema. In summary, further, that the Sisa Dukashe Stadium is situated in a built-up area and full of members of the public, the crew working at the stadium and police. Mr. Snyman is also the only, and I quote, white male identified on the stage before and after the shooting of the rifle. Mr. Malema is then seen firing the rifle. There is no statement of a witness in that regard. I emphasize and highlight what I'm reading out now is the response by the state to the request for further particulars by Advocate Matthews, not what was in fact presented. It's the reply that I'm reading out. Then with regards to count 6, the state replied that Tactical Security Services is the owner of rifle CN SPA 249-14. The video footage shows 2 shooting incidents, the first being the shooting of a handgun, and the second incident, the shooting of a rifle. Further, after the first shooting incident, a tall African male is seen receiving the handgun from Mr. Malema. He then walks to the back of the stage and the handgun and received the handgun from Mr. Malema. He then walks to the back of the stage and speaks to the white male standing next to the stairs. At that stage, Mr. Malema is seen dancing on the stage and then turns towards the back of the stage, making a hand gesture or sign. And the white male is then seen at the back of the stage with a rifle, whereafter Mr. Malema is then seen firing the rifle, and Mr. Snyman took the rifle directly after it was fired from Mr. Malema and then moved to the back of the stage. The said firearm, CN SPA 249-14, was booked out according to the records of Tactical Security Services to Larry Mavundla, who is an employee of Tactical Security Services and who was also present at the event. Time, date, place already placed on record, my summary. Then on 6 August 2018, the firearm serial number CN SPA 249-14 was presented to Colonel Janssen by Mr. Larry Mavundla with the explanation that the company knew that the South African police services will need it for ballistic testing as a result of an alleged incident. Also that the firearm was not in East London at the time the event was hosted, that it was being said by accused 2, and a cartridge was recovered in the stadium after the incident that is linked to the said firearm CN SPA 249-14. Therefore, the cartridge recovered was fired by the said firearm. Court charts 1 to 7, which was compiled by Colonel Mgwadleka, was also supplied to the defense in this regard, and that statements marked A131 to A133 also now supplied to the defense. In essence, that is the summary of the further particulars that is read with the charge sheet. Okay. The state called the following witness to testify and listed by court in no particular order or the order that the state witness were called to testify, but in an attempt to differentiate between the various witnesses and the occupation at the time. Therefore, the court had attempted to list them accordingly, being firstly Ntombifikile Mankomo, a cleaner at the time of the alleged incident; Nomfundu Lwana, the supervisor of the above-mentioned employee; Jonathan Kumalu, assistant manager at the time; The police officers who testified in no particular order being Colonel Mkwali, the SAPS member in charge of the EFF's 5th celebration, Captain Swart, a member of SAPS who retrieved or received the spent cartridge in question, Lieutenant Colonel Janssen of the Provincial Firearm, Liquor and Second-Hand Goods Unit, Warrant Officer Becker, a witness that attended the alleged crime scene, Colonel Mgwadleka, attached to the ballistic section of SAPS in Port Elizabeth. I refer to it as Port Elizabeth as it was still Port Elizabeth in the year 2018. Captain Mzuku, the Cluster Communication Officer of SAPS in East London, Captain Creer, the recipient of 3 batches of firearms, Warrant Officer Steenkamp, a qualified facial identification specialist, Captain Botha, attached to the Cybercrime Investigation Unit, Captain Govender, at the time a Media Center controller and spokesperson, Colonel Swartboy being the investigating officer of the matter before court, and Dwayne Francis, a digital forensic investigator at the time. The state further called Sydney Stander, the regional manager, Eastern Cape of CIRA, Private Security Industry Regulating Authority, and with regards to the Gear House Company employees, Sibusiso Ngobo, an audiovisual technician employed by Gear House at the time of the incident, Ashley Singh, the branch manager of Gear House at the time, and Samuel Kwata, a senior audiovisual technician employed by Gear House at the time. The defense opted to follow accused 2, to allow accused 2 to present evidence ahead of accused 1, and in this regard, the following witnesses were called during the defense case on behalf of accused 2, Mr. Martin Hood, an attorney by profession, and also responsible for the firearm-related issues pertaining to tactical security services, and also contributed to the drafting of the legislation of the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000. It was followed by the evidence of Mr. de Klerk, which the court will refer to as the ballistic defense expert, if so declared by court during these proceedings at an appropriate stage. That concluded the evidence presented on behalf of accused 2. The defense for accused 1 opened the defense case and called accused 1 to testify. After the evidence of accused 1, the following list of exhibits by the state, with the consent of the state and the defense, the contents with which the court will deal at the appropriate time, was submitted by the defense for accused 1? No. I will deal with all the exhibits presented and by who in chronological order. I think that will just be more sensible. Firstly, the following exhibits has been placed before court. Exhibit A, depicting a photo of the sealed cartridge retrieved from the scene. Exhibit A1 and A2, photos depicting the spent cartridge that was retrieved on the premises, and an enlarged photo pertaining to the structure. Exhibit B, an affidavit drafted by Mr. Stander pertaining to one Mr. Mavundla. Exhibit B1, affidavit deposed by Mr. Stander pertaining to Mr. Snyman. Exhibit C, the statement and report of Captain Janssen, which was accepted by consent of all parties. Exhibit D, the sworn affidavit drafted by Warrant Officer Philip Becker. Exhibit D1, photo album and key drafted by Warrant Officer Becker. Exhibit D2, photo album and key, drafted by Warrant Officer Becker. Exhibit D3, video footage, still images, drafted by Warrant Officer Becker. Oh no, there is a clear rule of no still photos during the court being in session, please. Exhibit D4 was the submitting of the evidence of Philip Becker and confirmed by the witness Vincent Mkomo. Exhibit E, the forensic ballistic document drafted by Colonel Mgwadleka. Exhibit E1, exhibits for ballistic analysis that will include Exhibit E2, Exhibit E3, Exhibit E4, E5, E6, E8, Exhibit E9, including Exhibit E10. All pertains to the ballistic reports by Colonel Mgwadleka, and the court will deal with the contents thereof in full. All of the said reports were submitted during the evidence of Colonel Mgwadleka. Exhibit F is also, that was marked as the court charts compiled by Colonel Mgwadleka, depicting 7 pages of court charts. Exhibit G, an affidavit deposed by Nkosiko Vincent Mzuko. Exhibit H, report compiled by Sergeant Dwayne Francis regarding mobile phone analysis. Exhibit I, the report and affidavit drafted by Warrant Officer Steenkamp, the facial and identification expert. Exhibit J, the report compiled by Captain Rion Botha from Cybercrime and the Forensic Unit. Exhibit K1 and K2 are both statements submitted during the cross-examination of Captain Marley Govender. Exhibit L, the fire compliance. It is in the form of a letter pertaining to tactical security services, indicating that they are indeed compliant. And Exhibit L2 is a letter drafted by the NPA to General Masemola. Defense exhibits was Exhibit M, being the affidavit and report compiled by Mr. Jan de Klerk during the evidence of accused number 1. The following written statements were submitted: an affidavit compiled by Andile Kuma, affidavit compiled by Lungisa and Zeleni, affidavit compiled by Pia Kare, affidavit compiled by Thomas Chauke, affidavit compiled by Menguvela. That's the best I can pronounce it. As stated, I need to repeat evidence and certain aspects in cross-examination which will be relevant when the court arrives at its reasoning and finding. So I cannot skip any portions of this. I will firstly deal with the evidence of Tom Fikile Makoma. She testified she is employed on a contractual basis at Buffalo City Municipality as a cleaner at the Sisa Dukashe Stadium, Tansane. She was on duty on 30 July 2018. Since she formed part of the team who had to clean the stadium after the EFF rally that was held on 28 July 2018, the witness and one Pumeza walked onto the field in the same direction and started to clean the field area. it was dirty and they picked up screws, bolts, bones, and dirt. As she got close to the lamppost, she picked up a cartridge and showed it to Pumeza and said the reason why she called her, I quote, is it is the first time for her to see such a big one. That I quote verbatim. In essence then, the size of the cartridge picked up is one she has not seen before. She called the others who also came to have a look, and a male person from disaster management was also present at the field and called her to bring the cartridge to him, which she did, and he placed it on a small table that was in the back of his bakkie that he was driving, and took various photos of the cartridge and handed it back to her and told her to hand it to her supervisor. The cartridge was then handed to Nomfundo Lwane, who was told to put it in her office. The lamppost the witness is referring to is the lamppost which is on the field on the grass surface. A photograph of the cartridge was shown to the witness, who testified that it is indeed the cartridge and no other cartridge found that day except for the one picked up and shown to her in court. Exhibit A was shown, and the witness indicated that she can identify the spot where she found the cartridge and marked the photograph using an X mark, and testified that the caterer's tent was at the spot where the cartridge was picked up by her. She explained that there were stands there and a tent, as well as a passage that divided the tent room from the podium. At the time, she testified that the cleaning tent had been removed and the stand was being removed or dismantled, and the two pillars where the words 5 years were written on or depicted had also already been removed. She further explains that the photograph depicts Sisa Dukashe Stadium, and the first gate on photo number 1 is a small gate which they used to enter, and there are palm trees on the outside of the stadium. Photo 2 depicts the field that faces the grandstand, which is not visible on the photo, and shows the trees towering over the field, and the pole depicted in the photo is the one where she picked up the cartridge, and that there are only 2 lampposts at the stadium, one on the field which she pointed out and where she picked up the cartridge, and the first pole is on the one right at the spot as soon as a person enters the first gate. She testified that photo 5 depicts the corner of the entrance. A total of 8 photos was shown to the witness. Cross-examination by Advocate Hodes on behalf of accused 1. She confirmed that she attended the event on 28 July 2018 and she was also on duty at the said date. She confirmed that she knows